annual planting for this cool season. Hi, Amanda! Oh, that's beautiful.
It's life-changing for me. Year 3 cut flower farm out here in Bloomfield, Kentucky. Vegetables love flowers. Good bugs into your garden. Rudbeckia, yarrow, and then the feverfew. You can actually have a cut flower business to make a little money too, because homesteading gardening, it can get expensive. Grow bags or containers, frost cloth. I'll use like a cover crop. The biggest mistake that I've made starting out was,
how do you maintain all of this?
it is a lot.
4 cats and 5
And
dogs.
don't ask me how many chickens and goats I have, because I lost count.
Kimba is a model.
I'm saying, about to get booked for something. What are you doing?
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Grow Leafy. I have an exciting video tour for you today. I am at Bountiful Blooms Farm in Kentucky, and we are going to do a tour here at this farm, and you're going to meet the farmer, and she has a beautiful flower garden, and we are going to be talking about annual planting for this cool season. So make sure that you tune in. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to Grow Leafy, and let's get started with this video. All right, I've got Amanda with me. Thank you so much for having us here. I'm so happy to hear all about Bountiful Blooms Farm. So tell me about the farm, a little bit about yourself, how you got into it, how long have you been doing this? I'd love to hear that.
Okay, so we are a year 3 cut flower farm out here in Bloomfield, Kentucky. I've been growing cut flowers professionally for 3 summers now. We actually started our homestead initially. That was in 2021 is when we started that. And I read this book called Vegetables Love Flowers. And that just opened my mind to the benefits of growing flowers alongside of your vegetables. So that really opened my eyes to, you know, not only the benefits of it from an ecological standpoint, but you can actually have a cut flower business too. So, you know, I think that's like the perfect thing for a homesteader, is to have a great ecosystem for your garden, but also, you know, make a little money too, because homesteading gardening, it can get expensive.
Yes.
So it's nice to have something to help with that type of stuff.
That is fantastic. And then also incorporating flowers into your gardens, if you're a vegetable gardener, is very beneficial. Can you talk on that?
Oh, I love this because I'm a big advocate for integrative pest management.
Yes.
So have those beneficial insects in here, and when you grow huge swaths of flowers, you're inviting all of those good bugs into your garden, and they're going to do the heavy lifting when it comes to getting rid of the bad bugs.
So you've seen successes with that, for sure.
Yes, and I will admit that I actually bring in beneficial insects, so I don't use any type of pesticides, organic or non.
Really?
We just bring in beneficial insects to take care of our bad bugs.
So not even the neem oil? Or
We don't use any of that.
Really?
No.
I'm still using neem oil. So
Yeah.
I'm incorporating sunflowers, but it sounds like I need to up that, take it to the next level.
I always tell people, you know, you should always grow, you know, big rows of flowers, because then the beneficial insects, they'll see it better rather than a little here and a little there. They'll see that color and they'll be attracted to it.
Okay, so take that tip. That's very important, and I'm going to now incorporate a little bit more. But this year, now at this time, because it's fall planting, you're getting ready to plant some of your annuals. Can you talk more about that? What is an annual cool flower?
Yes, so those are our cold season hardy annuals, and just like your brassicas and your leafy greens and all that you would plant in the garden now, when it's starting to cool down, you would do the same with these cold season annuals too.
Okay.
So in the flower world, we call them cool flowers.
Okay. Cool flowers. Okay. And what if you're living in different climates? How does that work? Because I have many people that are falling from all over the world, and mainly in the United States, but all over the world.
So when it comes to that, you know, of course you want to know your growing zone.
Okay.
That'll help you out as well. And then you want to know 2 important dates when it comes to these plants. You want to know your first frost, your first average frost date, and then your last average frost date. And you can just get into the search engine, put your zip code in there, and it'll tell you that.
Okay.
Once you know those dates, you'll get your calendar out, or you could even Google search this.
Okay.
And you'll say, you know, what's 6 to 8 weeks from that date, from your first frost, you know, first fall frost. So from that point, you go back 6 to 8 weeks, and that's when you will get your transplants in the ground.
Okay.
So if you're starting the seeds inside, you know that date when you have to get them in the ground. Start those maybe 3 to 4 weeks before that.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, that process and the practice is very similar to just vegetable gardening as well. So gardeners, make sure that you are paying attention to that, because sometimes I know people ask questions like, I didn't get much of a harvest, my plants are not growing properly. Well, you may be growing them during the time that's not beneficial for the plant. And so really pay attention to that. I will add a link in the description as well so that you can figure out your, proper planting times. So tell me about these books.
All right. So if I were to recommend books for any beginner gardener or any gardener in general, I'd recommend The Good Bug, Bad Bug, because when it comes to pests, you want to know what's in your garden because you might be killing something that's trying to help you out. So this book has all the identification of the good bugs and the bad bugs, how to attract beneficial insects, and then the good bugs that you can bring into your garden to eat the bad bugs. This is the Cool Season Flower Bible. We swear by this book here. This is going to make growing these flowers super easy for you. It's actually got an index that's going to tell you the types of flowers, the winter hardiness zone, and then if you want to start it outside or inside, or you can do either sometimes. So this is like the little cheat sheet that you can get. It's going to help you streamline and figure that out easier. And this is a great book if you're one of those people that you don't want to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on fertilizer and you kind of want to DIY. This is the book so you can make your own garden amendments, because you can make things that your plant needs based on what's growing in your garden. You could take this plant here, the celosia, chop it up, ferment it, and make a perfect fertilizer for that, because this plant has everything the plant needs. So this one's got some good stuff.
I actually recently bought this book.
Oh, really?
I'm really excited. Yes. I've been watching and listening to educational videos from the author.
Nice. I love this. I love Korean natural farming, all that nerdy garden stuff. So
wonderful. I grow basic, annuals like your marigolds, zinnias, sunflowers. But if I really wanted to start maybe an annual cool flower, what would you recommend for me or another beginner during this time? Easy to maintain. And
so some of the easier flowers that I've experienced would be Rudbeckia. I love that one. I also like yarrow. Is very simple, low pest pressure, and then the feverfew. Yes.
Which is medicinal as well, the feverfew.
Feverfew, yes, and the yarrow.
And the yarrow.
Yes.
Awesome. So do some Google, look that up yourselves. I'm not a doctor or anything.
Right.
But there's a lot of medicinal plants. And actually, with one of the plants I even planted were the marigolds. And the variety that I had was edible as well.
Oh, yeah.
The marigolds as well. So it was really good. And I dried the leaves and put in some tea. But you just got to find the right edible version. There's
a lot of flowers that are edible. The zinnias are edible. Dahlias are edible. So
I love making tea. So yeah. What did you call that area over there?
So that's like my new succession, the fresher zinnias and stuff that I had. This was a very experimental area.
How do you maintain all of this? It's absolutely gorgeous, but this is a lot. And
it is a lot. And, I'm kind of in the place where I'm trying to figure out systems and processes to stay on top of weeds and then also lower the weed pressure, because that's the number one thing out here is just fighting those weeds. It's not perfect by any means, but it has been successful in that when I started this, I did the silage tarp. That's how I start all my beds, and then we actually laid down a winter cover crop for that. So I've been playing around with the cover crops, and that's actually done really well, considering I've not weeded this area very much at all.
So what's this cat's name?
That is Kimba, because we have a lot of barn cats that come out here. The first barn cat was Simba. While we switched cat food, Simba stopped coming around.
Is that Kimba?
And this one started coming around, so I named it Kimba. So I was just playing off of that, name.
5 cats and 5 dogs.
4 cats, 5 dogs.
4 cats and 5
And
dogs.
don't ask me how many chickens and goats I have because I lost count.
This is my favorite flower, or color at least, but also flower right now because it's my favorite color. Beautiful. And this is a zinnia.
Yes, this type, the smaller bloom, is the Oklahoma variety.
Oklahoma variety.
Yeah, Oklahoma Carmen is this specific one.
Beautiful. So in this space, let's talk about your plan for designing the flower garden for the annuals. What does that look like?
So really, when it comes to growing cut flowers for making arrangements and bouquets, as a cut flower farmer, what I'm thinking of is color. So in the springtime, people are wanting more of like the pastel, softer colors, a little bright colors. In the summer, they want those pops of colors. They want the bright colors that, you know, kind of go with the seasons. In fall, we're going to switch over to more like the jewel tone, the little, you know, like burgundy type, because it's very seasonal. And people want those seasonal shifts in color too. So when I'm figuring out what colors I want to plant, I'm thinking about when am I cutting these flowers.
Okay. So I would, for me, would have some of that seasonal change of flowers, but also have that color popping through.
Yeah, that's a staple right there. Yes.
And so what about for someone who maybe they live in an apartment, they have pots or raised beds, they're just in a backyard and smaller spaces. How would you suggest any tips for them?
Yes, yes.
Is that possible?
I love that because I think anybody can really have a garden, you know. So even if you're growing in grow bags or containers, you can still plant and get a lot of flowers because I think, you know, you can grow a lot of flowers in a little space. So one thing that I do here is called intensive planting.
Okay.
So we plant things really close together. One, you get more flowers. But two, the natural canopy of the flowers begins to shade out the weeds. So you'll have less weed pressure when you plant things closer together.
Okay. Very, very interesting. Because when I look down here, I'm not seeing, you know, there's some grass, some weeds, but right over here, it's full of grass and things, you know. So I can definitely tell a difference. I find that the same in my own garden. So when I start pulling up plants, it kind of makes me a little nervous because it's now exposed.
Yes.
And then I'll start seeing weeds popping up.
Exactly, yeah, that's a problem with that.
Yeah. I love how the sunflowers have decided they want to face that way.
Yes.
You know, it's like the sun's here, but they want to face that way. When I think about cool crops, I'm thinking it's the winter time. It gets really cold, especially in Kentucky.
Yes.
How am I going to protect it? Is that necessary with cool flowers?
Okay, great.
Row covers?
Yeah,
or
that's a
like
great
that?
question. So for us, we do cover a lot of ours with frost cloth. We have these wire hoops that we put every, you know, certain spacing, and then we get these like sandbags or rocks, and we kind of weigh it down like that. Sometimes we'll use 1 or 2 of the cloths, and once it reaches over 36 degrees, then you want to open that up because you don't want it to fry the plants in there. But I will say if it's going to snow or get ice, you want to take the cloth off because snow and ice are actually better insulators than the covers.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Is that the same for the gardening as well, you think?
You know, it'd be worth a try. I haven't done that with the vegetables.
Yes.
But I have done it with the flowers.
Okay.
So.
I use a lot of leaf mulch to protect my beds.
Yeah.
So
I like that too.
Interesting. Interesting. Now what about fertilization?
Okay.
What's your process for that?
Okay, so for me, I do like a fish emulsion fertilizer. The particular one that I use is King Neptune.
Okay.
And then I also use a Hybrix molasses, which is a whole nother thing on its own. And then I make my own garden amendments as well. So one that I really like to use is a calcium amendment that I make with our eggshells from our chickens.
Oh no, that's awesome.
Yes, I love it. Especially tomatoes, peppers.
Yes.
Use some of that, it's great.
So you mentioned some liquid fertilizers, basically.
Yes.
That are, what about slow releasing? Do you use any of that at all?
So we do use some like azomite, rock dust, green sand as well. I'll put that in like my plugs when I'm starting my seeds, and then sometimes I'll add it to the beds. But usually when I start my bed, I will add a layer of compost to that. Or I'll use like a cover crop, and that'll, you know, decompose and add its own nutrients and biomass to the soil.
Okay. What if I am tired of looking at my garden because it's looked the same way for maybe 10 years, but I want to get a fresh new look? How could someone do that just to get a fresh new look to the garden?
So really, I think people overcomplicate it, but it could be very simple. You know, you can have, you know, a fresh new color scheme going on with your flowers or even your vegetables by doing succession planting. So, you know, you might plant one, you know, color grouping of flowers in June, and then you could plant another one maybe like July. And then that kind of will, you know, give you a fresh thing to cut off of, and then new colors to enjoy too. Yeah.
That's something I need to think about, because I think about that with my vegetables, but I have not been thinking about that in regards to the flowers.
Yes.
I have not been preparing for a second planting.
Right.
I didn't realize that.
And for cut flowers, we actually do a lot of successions for our flowers. So our first succession for next year would be planted in the fall, and then the next one would be planted very early spring. From that point, we're actually continuing very early spring, then we'll do another one late spring, a couple in summer, and just start over, you know, season after season.
And do you have a lot of perennials here too, or is it just all annuals?
So for now, majority of our plants, I'd say 95% are annuals.
But you have some.
I do have I have a few, like the Rudbeckia and the yarrow. I just add a little bit of the echinacea too, and then lavender.
Wonderful. Your garden is beautiful.
Thank you.
The flowers are gorgeous, and it's just such a peaceful place. And I love the animals. You know, we've had this pet. This cat has been following us the whole time.
Everywhere.
Now, you know, like, as people are learning how to do this, of course mistakes are going to happen.
Yes.
You know, is there a mistake that you've ever made that you learned from?
I've made enough mistakes for all of us, really. I think the biggest mistake that I've made starting out was starting too big. Having too big of a garden and trying to plant everything out there.
It's easy to want to do that.
Oh, those seed catalogs come around and you want to buy it all. And you probably do, you know, when you're starting out. But I would say start small, because you'd be surprised at how much you can grow in a small space.
And it takes time to grow a garden. And I'm a firm believer that if you start simple, you'll be able to learn and master what it is that you're doing and understand how that plant works, and then just grow from there.
Yes.
And plus, it's hard to maintain a large garden space.
Yes. And when you start small, you build your confidence. You know, you feel good about it because you're probably not wasting so much of the produce. You can maintain it easier, and you feel good about that. When you start big and the weeds take over, you just lose morale and you feel defeated, and you don't want to do it again. So if you start small and you get some successes under your belt, you're going to be excited to keep gardening.
Wonderful. Well, that was a great tip to leave off on. I hope you all like this video. Remember, give me a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe to this channel. But I want to thank you so much, Amanda, at Bountiful Blooms Farm. Please tell us again, what is the website? How do people find you? I am going to link it in the description.
Thank you. Well, thank you for coming out. I have fun hanging out with y'all. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and at our website at www.bountifulblooms.farm.
Did you see the cat? That cat just crawled.
Oh my goodness.
That's perfect. Wonderful. All right, so just remember to subscribe, give thumbs up, and check out her channel, her website, and just remember to grow, eat, and self-care. See you in the next video.
Kimba, you gonna ignore us?
Kimba is a model.
I'm saying, about to get booked with something. What are you doing, kitty?